Hi, my name is Olaf, and today we'll talk about Europe in the 19th century. Throughout the 19th century, there was a growing interest in establishing new national identities, which had a drastic impact on the map of Europe. These transformations also highlight the failure of a certain European order, which led to the outbreak of the First World War. The 19th century was a century marked by the collapse of the Spanish, Napoleonic, and Holy Roman Empire. This paved the way of the growing influence of the British and Russian Empire. The British and Russian empires expanded greatly, becoming the world's leading powers. The Russian Empire expanded in Central and Far Eastern Asia. The British Empire grew rapidly in the first half of the century, especially with the expansion of vast territories in Canada, Australia, South Africa, and heavily populated India, and in the last 2 decades in the century in Africa. By the end of the century, the British Empire controlled a fifth of the world's land and 1/4 of the world's population. During the post-Napoleonic era, it enforced what became the known as Pax Britannica, which has ushered into unprecedented globalization, industrialization, and economic integration on a massive scale. Before talking about the 19th century into Europe, I must mention the French Revolution, a watershed event in modern European history. The French Revolution began in the 1789 and ended in the late of 1790s with the ascent of Napoleon Bonaparte. During this period, French citizens raised and redesigned their country's political landscape, upgrading centuries-old institutions such as absolute monarchy and the feudal system. Like the American Revolution before it, the French Revolution was influenced by the Enlightenment ideals, particularly the concepts of popular sovereignty and inalienable rights. Also, it failed to achieve all of its goals and times degenerate into a chaotic bloodbath. The movement played a critical role in shaping modern nations by showing the world the power inherent in the will of the people. Talking about the end of the French Revolution on August 22 in 1795, the National Convention, composed by largely of guerrillas who had survived to the Reign of Terror, approved a new constitution that created France's first bicameral legislature. Executive power will lie into the hands of 5-member directories appointed by the Parliament. The directories, 4 years in the power, were riddled with financial crisis, popular discontent, inefficiency, and above all political corruption. By the late of 1790s, the directors relied almost entirely on the military to maintain their authority and had ceded much of their power to the generals in the field. On November 9 in 1799, as frustration with their leadership reached in the fever pitch, Bonaparte staged a coup d'état, abolishing the directory and appointing himself France's first consul. The event marked the end of the French Revolution and the beginning of the Napoleonic era, in which France would come to dominate much of the continental Europe.
My enemies are many, my equals are none. In the shade of olive trees, they said Italy could never be conquered. In the land of pharaohs and kings, they said Egypt could never be humbled. In the realm of forest and snow, they said Russia could never be tamed. Now they say nothing. They fear me, like a force of nature, a dealer in thunder and death. I say, I am Napoleon. I am Emperor.
After Napoleon took the power of France, by 1804 Napoleon was so powerful that he declared himself Emperor of Europe, defeating the various military coalitions, the other powers of Europe that tried against him. Napoleon won the battle after battle in Marengo in the 18 in Austerlitz in 1805, Jena, Amsterdam, and Friedland in 1807. He built a past empire of dependent states, obligating the Tsar Alexander to ally with him in 1807 with the Treaty of Tilsit and control the majority of Europe. Everywhere he went, he spread the reforms and influence of the French Revolution to a remarkable extent. Just about the only of blemish on his record during the first decade in the 19th century was a stunning naval loss to Britain at the Battle of Trafalgar. After the defeat of Napoleon under the leadership of the four greatest victors over France, the United Kingdom, Austria, Prussia, and Russia, the European countries met in Vienna under the mandate of Clement von Metternich to determine the fate of the territories that were shattered by Napoleonic conquest and reconstruct an European order. Two principles dominate the negotiations: the preservation of political equilibrium among the powers and the restoration of all dynasties, driving out the revolutionary wave. The decisions taken in Vienna redraw the political map of Europe. Prussia expands to include a part of Grand Duchy of Warsaw, Swedish and Pomerania, over half of Saxony, and about all of greater part of the Rhineland. With these acquisitions, Prussia definitely obtains the status of a great European power. Russia secures its takeover of Finland. It is granted trusteeship over the greater part of Poland and removes Bessarabia from the Ottoman Empire. The Tsar Darabia continues his march towards Constantinople. Austria, for its part, recovers the Tyrol and receives the kingdom of Venetian Lombardy, as well as Dalmatia. The later territorial expansions gave the Habsburg Empire a southern and Mediterranean enactment. Following the European timeline, we can talk about the emprises about the Congress of Vienna, the independence of Greece in 1821 by the Greeks, launched a war of independence against the Ottoman Empire, which succeeded in 1824. The independence of Belgium, the Kingdom of the Netherlands, are constituted by the Congress of Vienna broke apart in 1830. The Polish question, the major phases of the dismantlement of Poland, which had been a powerful country during the 15th and 16th centuries. The Serbian autonomy, several case dates in the history of the Serbian kingdom of the 12th centuries onwards. And we get to the revolutions of 1848. In the beginning, shortly after New Year in 1848, Europe exploded into revolutions from Paris to Frankfurt to Budapest to Naples. Liberal protesters rose against the conservative establishment. To those living through the cataclysm year, it seemed rare student however hiding offers valuable warning sign. This year, in 1846, witnessed a severe famine in Europe led serious food crisis, lack of grain drove in food, and our prices, while wages remained stagnant, thus reducing consumer demand, with consumers buying less and less profits permanent, forcing thousands of industrial workers out of their jobs. High unemployment combined with the high prices sparked the regular revolt. The subsequent events in February in 1848 in France made Austria Prince Clement von Metternich saying seem true. When France sneezes, Europe catches a cold. Following with the timeline after the revolutions of 1848 occurs the triumph of nationalities. The Prince of Nations ended with the failure of liberal forces in Europe, meanwhile the unification of Germany and Italy marked by the triumph of the nationality. The unification of Germany was created by Bismarck, forcing Germany unity by launching three major wars against Denmark, Austria, and France. The first of the duchies, Danish and German populations lived side by side in the three duchies of Schleswig, Holstein, and Lauenburg. The annexation of Alsace-Lorraine by Germany. The annexation of these two regions illustrates how France and Germany interpreted the concept of nation. The unification of Italy. With the help from France, Cavour built up Italian unity using the kingdom of Piedmont and Sardinia as its starting point. The Roman question. For Italian patriots, Rome was the obvious capital for the unified Italy, but the Pope refused to give up territory belonging to the heritage of Saint Peter. Austria-Hungary in 1867 excluded for the moment to German unification. The Austrian Empire was transformed into a binational state. Austria-Hungary, the Crimean War. France and England become allies in order to combat Russian control of the Straits. Towards the Clash of Nations in 1871. The European order promoted by the Congress of Vienna was replaced by a system of alliances which divided Europe into two hostile blocs: Germany, the Ottoman Empire, and Austria-Hungary. And in the other side, Russia, Britain, and France. The independence of the Balkan peoples. From 1875, the situation of the Balkans was shattered by a series of crises. In the Ottoman Empire, European territory was reduced to the eastern Thrace. The independence of Norway and the Irish question if it would be united with England or it would be independent for the United Kingdom. At the final of the 19th centuries is when Europe started the imperialism, mostly into Africa and India. Talking about the Europe economy in the 19th century, it's fundamental to mention the Industrial Revolution. This Industrial Revolution brought factories to Europe, especially to England and Scotland. In Britain, the Industrial Revolution was a period of economic transformation characterized by the growth of new systems comprising factories, railroads, coal mining, and business enterprises, using new technologies that is sponsored. The new system operated first on textiles, then spread to the other sectors, and by the mid of the 19th century totally transformed the British and Europe economy and society, setting up sustained growth. It spreads to parts of America and Europe and modernized the world economy. Also localized the certain parts of Britain. Its impact was felt worldwide on migration and trade, society and politics, and cities and countryside, and affect the remotest areas. The growth rate in British GDP was 1.5% per year, doubling to 3.0% per year. Entrepreneurs found uses for stationary engines in turning the machines in a factory or the pumps at a mine, while moving engines were put into locomotives and ships, where they turned paddles or their propellers. The use of water power was growing too, so that in 1830 steel mills and water mills were about equal. By 1879, Britain obtained 2.1 million horsepower from steam engines and 230,000 from water. In the 19th century, approximately 70 million of people left Europe, with most migration to the United States of America. Another fundamental fact into Europe in the 19th century was slavery that was greatly reduced around the world. Following the successful slave revolt in Haiti, Britain and France stepped up the battle against the barbaric pirates and succeeded in stopping the enslavement of Europe. The UK's Slavery Abolition Act charged the British Royal Navy with the ending of the global slave trade. The first colonial empire in the century to abolish slavery was the British, who so did in 1834. Talking about the religion into Europe, I have to start in 1802 with Napoleon, that he had opened up the Catholic Church again. The French people have to keep their freedom of religion, and the Catholic Church had much less power in France. Soon, Catholics and Protestants lost power in other European countries too. In 1803, the Catholic Church lost its lands in Germany, and in the next years Napoleon conquered Italy and took over many monasteries and convents there. In 1836, a new democratic government took over the monasteries and convents in Spain. In 1866, when Italy became a united country, many more monasteries closed, and the Protestants also lost more power. Christianity got more powerful again the late of 19th century. In 1851, Queen Isabella in Spain let the Catholic Church have more power. Also, France declared as a Christian state. But in the Balkans, controlled by the Ottoman Empire, leads to the Islam religion. Talking about the north, it's more popular to say the people were Protestant, and in the east and the south were Christian and adapt to Islam. Also, I have to mention the new thinking of Charles Darwin, that the persons believe in science and not specific in a religion. In conclusion, I have to say the many changes that occurs during the 19th century, and the scrambles for Europe and also the new scrambles for Africa, the change into the think of the people, the change into the governments, and the new systems implemented during the 19th century in Europe that we also have today, like the democracy or the system of republic, revolutionary moments that know how to govern in a better way the persons. Also, I have to make a mention the change of religions and the migration of the people because of better circumstances that they will encounter, and also the incredible advantages into technology, science, and medicine that never happened in other areas. Just in the 19th century was the era where it could be used the steam machines and the new form of life into the factories and into a revolutionary thinking of obtaining more technologies and a base of knowledge. Thank you very much. I'm Renova, and I'm grateful to you listen to me. Bye.